Well, hello everyone. We are doing a live stream. Get on over here. Come into the comments section. It is late at night. East Coast, it's 11 o'clock. It's a little earlier. West Coast, but West Coast, you're just starting the episode now. So if you're on here, go away. I don't want you here. I want you to enjoy this episode as it airs, and then come back here after this is aired. I don't know how long I'll be on here. I don't know if I'm gonna have any guests popping in. I sent the link to a few people saying, "Hey, if you want to come on in." But everyone's at their own premiere parties. I am flying out early tomorrow morning for California, so I am not at any premiere parties, but I wanted to sit in the comfort of my house where I first experienced Survivor, watch it with my brother Jake, and sit on the couch and get up off the couch and come podcast. What a crazy episode. We're going to get into all of it right now. This is kind of just going to be a brief like recap kind of thought process. How are things looking going forward now that we've seen the tribe dynamics, now that we've seen who's working with who? We will have better episodes in the next few days, weeks, with Zach, with other people, to recap episodes and get more thorough recaps. And of course, we will be doing TikTok power rankings. But I just wanted to get on here because it's so fresh, and because we had this monumental premiere. I just wanted to come out here and give you all my thoughts before the internet told me I'm right or wrong for liking who I like or not liking who I like. But I think we kind of have to go with like the ending and kind of work our way backwards, only because it started on such a high, but the boot was tough, and the medevac was even tougher. I spoiled it there. If you're on here and you don't know what happened, go away, unless you don't care. But the medevac, yeah, it was tough. Dan Skip Allen, that was a bummer of an episode all the way around for me. So, as a fan of old school players, yeah, I think this is a good thing to touch on first. Sad for Kyle as well. Yeah, Kyle, very sad to see him go the way he went. Very weird old school player kind of analysis there from Dan. I don't think it's necessarily as much of a bummer for fans of old school. I just think especially old school Borneo fans will definitely be upset with what happened tonight. But I just think it's one of those things where right now the new era folks are fresher, they're hotter, they're more excited, they're more recent, so they're going to kind of come in with a little bit more finesse. But I think as the game goes, especially seeing how many loyal new era players there are, people like Jonathan, people like Joe, and then you kind of start to see them form alliances with older players like Jonathan, kind of trying to get on Chrissy's good side. And then you have a player like Colby and Stephanie teaming up with someone like Genevieve. Like, I do think we're going to see a lot more crossing between old school and new school. I wouldn't be so worried. I don't think this is going to be a winners of war where every single person to go out is going to be old school, just because also look at who the targets are going into this next episode. I mean, we're seeing a lot of targets, people like Savannah being named now because people don't trust that she actually doesn't have anything. That was a tough bluff for her. I don't know what Camilla's target is going to look like now, but D is a huge target right now, and D is a new school player, new school winner. So I don't necessarily know if the old school, new school dynamic is going to be something that is kind of seen throughout the rest of the season. I think it's more so just the way the cookie crumbled this episode, where Jenna, obviously the oldest of old school, went after someone else who was old school just because their reputations are big and there can only be one queen. It's kind of like the Sandra Amber thing of Sandra Boston Rob, needing to get out Amber because there's only one queen here. Kind of like Sandra and Tony in Game Changers as well. Like, there's kind of this dominance and this idea of trying to be the queen pin or kingpin. And the thing with Suri was great. What she said in her confessional was, I wasn't going for you. You threw my name out there. So I think there's a world where they could work together. I think the flip side of the new era players playing so hard but knowing the finesse is that the old school players are playing hard but they don't have that finesse yet. So kind of like Winners of War with Danny Boatwright, she comes out so hot that she just tripped and played herself out too early. Yeah, Dan said Jenna played too hard too early, and I think that's part of the tough part about this is that the old school players play too hard too early and then can't recover, and that's why like someone like Jenna, like they come in with one target in mind, Suri, and they're not willing to hear those other options. Where I believe if Jenna had thrown out a few other names or even played Savannah's name, I think there's a good chance Savannah goes home and Jenna stays. I think it's the fact that it was Suri's name and Suri's best buddy is the guy who's winning challenges for you, which is Ozzy. And Ozzy did not win a lot of challenges tonight. He lost every challenge he played. But we'll talk about that in a sec too. What else did Dan say? Overall, it was a good episode. Dan, if you want to get in here, I can send you the link. I don't know if it's too late for you. I know you're on East Coast too, but if you want to pop in here. Overall, it was a good episode, but I had issues with some of the stuff. I didn't like how they were setting Ozzy and Coach against each other. Hey, they were against each other because of their last season. It's not the edit. I think they genuinely just do not get along. I think Ozzy is trying to let bygones be bygones. I think Coach is kind of saying he's willing to let bygones be bygones, but he has such a big ego that I think both guys have such big egos that it's just not going to really work out in their favor. Dan, let me send you this link in case you want to come on in here and rant a little bit about this premiere. I'm going to sing some of the premiere's graces right now, good graces, only because I don't even know if that link worked. Hold on, Dan, I'll send this to you. I don't really think the premiere was a bad premiere. Obviously, the Kyle thing is unfortunate. It's a bummer. But I do think all in all, this was a really great just celebration of the show, especially that first hour, just seeing all these characters interact. I say characters, they're people, but these larger than life characters, I should say, play this game together. All these interactions. Devins and Christian, who you think, because they're just real life friends, have played this game together, but they haven't. Same as Emily and Christian, Emily and Devins. Like, I love seeing these kind of contingents form, and then these new ones, like Colby saying, "I feel really good about Genevieve." I don't think Colby and Genevieve have probably talked until now. So it's really cool. The Rizzo Colby dynamic, the fact that we went from Colby getting annoyed at Rizzo to now wanting to kind of be his dad in the game. I think that's really cool. And Allie's watching too. Allie, you don't watch Survivor, but you're here in the live stream. Hey, how are you? I love you. But we do have Dan here. I'll bring on Dan because it's more fun to do this podcast while talking to someone. So Dan Skip Allen, how's it going, man?
Hey man, how's it going? Look, a little bit of pulling the wool back over people, pulling the curtains up. Dylan and I have been talking all night long about this episode. I am a old school, long time Survivor fan. Watched the very first episode of Survivor, and now here I am watching season 50. I cannot believe I'm sitting here talking to you about season 50 of Survivor. This is crazy, Dylan.
I know. If you had told Dan 25 years ago that Jenna Lewis will be the first boot of Survivor 50, you probably would have been like, no way. But
yeah, I'm bummed at that. I really like Jenna. I really like Jenna, but
I mean, that's the toughest thing about this season. I think everyone who goes home, even if you're not a fan, it's going to be a bit of a bummer. Like Kyle, like I was never the biggest fan of Kyle being on the show, only because I was like, he's already won. He won so recently. It's unfair for Camilla, for Kyle to also be there. But I do think by the end, I was like, damn, I don't want to see him go, because he was also playing a really, really good game. And then, you have players that, like, I don't love. Like, I don't love Jonathan, but it's cool to see Jonathan want to play a more strategic game. It's cool to see these players that I wasn't a big fan of actually bring something to this, including also Ozzy, who I think last season we saw in Game Changers, he barely got any confessionals. Now I think he led the confessionals this episode just because of his edit. I think it's really cool that we're getting to see so many characters I didn't think would be big main players being the main players. But your biggest hot take, Dan, is that you're not the biggest Cirie Fields fan, I know. So how do you feel about Cirie's game this episode? Because I think a lot of people are going to be talking about it. Should it have been Jenna? Should it have been Cirie?
Cirie didn't do anything. She blew the challenge for her team, and she didn't do anything. Why were those new guys and girls all on board with Cirie? I don't get Devins. I don't get what Rick Devins is doing, man. She's an albatross around their waist. Why did they keep her? Just because of Ozzy?
Yeah, and that's a tough thing. You have such a core with Ozzy. It's like, do you really want to risk getting on Ozzy's bad side? But Ozzy's not really the strategic powerhouse that I don't think he would agree. So I really don't think, I think honestly the most interesting topic in conversation was when Emily was like, what if we just go for Ozzy? I thought that would have been an insane move, but I do think you just can't risk. You're going from literally talking about, okay, do we get out the weakest person on our tribe, or probably like the second or third weakest, versus like Ozzy, who is still the strongest guy on that tribe next to probably Joe. I would say in this episode, Ozzy lost more challenges than anyone else. So I don't necessarily know if Ozzy is the same Ozzy. Obviously, he's good at challenges, but I don't think he's the same Ozzy as he was. Like, I don't think he's a guaranteed win. As we saw, Ozzy and Joe's team lost both challenges.
And you see him doubling over behind him. Is Ozzy, are you okay? I'm like, this ain't the same Ozzy. And look, I don't know if you want to talk about this now or leading into next episode, or somebody else you might have on that'll talk about it, but I want to get my licks in now. I mean, there was no rules for who knocks the key off the hook should get the key. There was no rules. And Coach was right. He tried to talk to Q about that. He never said a word to Coach about, hey, if I knock it off. No, he ain't doing that. This is all fun and war and Survivor. You're out for yourself. Give me a break. I mean, I was there, I'd do the same exact thing, coach.
Yeah.
I'd go for that key.
Well, and that's why Coach is such a fascinating player, because Coach says, I'm all about honor, all about loyalty, all about integrity. So his whole reasoning is, I didn't say anything, so I'm being noble, I'm being honorable, which is true. He is not lying, but it also is like kind of it's a loophole. And I love Coach because he finds the loopholes, and that's why he's a great character, because he says he's all about honor and loyalty and integrity, and then he finds loopholes to get around that. Same as Joe, which is funny because Joe also had a confessional about how, like, or in Tribal, he was like, Kyle and Camilla got the best of me and whatever. I'm like, no, you got the best of yourself, because you just can't own that in Survivor. You're going to have to lie. And I think that's the cool thing about Coach, is that as soon as Mike White came back and was like, Ozzy was saying you were not noble, you were not honorable, like that got under Coach's skin. And I do worry if that's going to be the terrible use of words for this episode, but his Achilles heel going forward is the fact
They're
that
in the pot.
Coach is now going to have this shaken, like it's going to be hard, because no matter how far they go in this game, I don't think Coach and Ozzy will ever get on the same page. And if they do, it's going to be this really great growth edit for the both of them. So I do like, though, that we have this like rivalry early on, because I think everyone, was playing a little too nice out the gate. And that's why I appreciate Jenna, is she went hard. It's just on that tribe, no one else was going hard, going strong. So everyone was simpatico. It was Christian and Devins getting along, Christian and Emily and Devins, Suri and Devins, Suri and Ozzy. Like, Jenna was just the outlier in the fact that she was just coming out so strong when no one else was putting up a name. And I think that's ultimately everyone else was like, you know what? Get the chaos out now. If Suri loses again, then we take her out again. Or it's, hey, this is the new era. This is 50 in the hands of the fans. There's going to be a tribe swap. So why am I trying to prioritize strength when I could be off of a tribe from Suri tomorrow, and I could be on another tribe with Jonathan, Ozzy, and Joe? And then why did I get rid of Suri? I think that they're playing the long game, where you suffer a few challenges now, but later on it'll help to have Suri, because Suri, if she can't win a challenge, take her to 4th place, take her to 5th place, and I think that's kind of the mentality I would have out there. Maybe it's because I love Suri. I'm kind of convincing myself of that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, she's an albatross. First of all, look, I'm not going to defend. Look, Jenna, I've watched 50 seasons of Survivor. Somebody always goes hard out the gate. And what happens? They're out the door, like first or second or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They getting these people out of the way. You can't go hard right out the door. Jenna should have known that. Her whole comment at the tribal council, oh, first in, first out. Like, get out of here, Jenna. You don't have to be first out. You screwed yourself up by going hard out the door. You should have laid low a little bit and let those other guys like Rick Devins and them other guys do that. And then they probably would have went for Suri. Who knows? But
yeah.
No, and I like Savannah, so I'm the exact opposite. I like Dee and I like Savannah, so I want to see them go far. It's other players that I don't like, that I just have never liked. Look, say whatever you want about me, whatever, I don't care. I didn't like the Black Widow Brigade. That's the bottom line, Dylan.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they treated men. They treated Ozzy specifically, and I don't like the way Suri has treated Ozzy in the history of this game.
Yeah, and honestly, this is why Survivor is great, because you have so many different perspectives, and you have heroes and villains to root for or root against. And many people look at Suri as a hero. She's the one who got off the couch. She's the one who inspired people to play. Some people look at her as a villain. She got Eric to give up the necklace. She blindsided Ozzy. But here's the interesting thing about Survivor, is that Ozzy's now her number one ally and wants to work with her. So it's really cool to see how these relationships ebb and flow. And that's why Coach and Ozzy is so interesting, because they get on the beach, they let bygones be bygones, and then immediately it switches back to the old. And that can happen too. And I think that's why this premiere was so interesting, because I think there's potential for that to happen a bunch. I look at Aubrey and Genevieve as well, two master strategists that are now, they were kind of sussing each other out, and then they were kind of like, we can work together, but then Aubrey wasn't feeling it. And I worry that either this is going to be the two of them going at each other, or it's going to lead to this kind of complicated dynamic friendship and bond and relationship. And that's why I like this season, and the fact that you have returning players with so much different baggage and different history, is that everyone has potential to be betrayed, but then also mend those severed ties. And I do think like Colby and Steph, they were immediately like, all right, we got each other, just because they played together. But who knows? Maybe Colby sides with Rizzo on something and it screws over Steph, and then Steph is pissed. So I think there's a potential for some leeway, some wiggle room there. I do want to pull up just each tribe, just so we can talk about each tribe individually. And then Dan, I'll let you get on with your night, because I know it is late for all of us, and I might be heading out soon too, just because It is late. I don't know if I can even share that. Okay, I'm just gonna bring up pictures here. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought the voting thing, it said to vote on colors for 4 tribes. I don't know why I got that confused earlier. Me and you were messaging. I don't know why I thought it was going to be 24, which divided into 6 players. But
Yeah, no, I did know it was 3 only because I remember I thought it was 3 colors, but
yeah, I thought it was
it
4 colors. I
happens.
don't know how I confused that.
It's okay. Here we go. Let me look up. What is the first one? Siva tribe, I think it's called. Um, I just need to find the pictures. Oh, Sela tribe. There we
Tila,
go. That's
Tila.
that's why I couldn't find it. I was like, where is it? There it is. Okay, so here you go. This is your first tribe. We've kind of been talking about them, so I want to stay on them. Let's just talk about each one's premiere a little bit. I mean, Joe, pretty quiet. He was just kind of all about, strength. That was kind of where he was. We didn't really see him have any bonds, which was kind of surprising considering I feel like everyone would want to work with Joe. We didn't see Joe really having any big relationship this episode, which I feel like if he was going to be, I always analyze for like winner edits and stuff, and I just think for a winner's edit, it's a little lacking compared to what I thought it would be going in because he was one of my main contenders going into the season. Joe kind of a non-entity. I think everyone else though we kind of know where they stand. I mean, Suri and Ozzy are the 2 who are locked in with each other. It also seems that Devins, Emily, and Christian are a 3 who are locked in with each other, and then it seems like Devins and Suri are the ones who are kind of connected, and Christian is actually the one who was pushing hardest for Jenna when the others had to make up a decision. It looked like it was Joe, Savannah, and then the 3 making the decision: are we going to go Ozzy, Suri, or Jenna? And I think Christian made a good point. It's just she's going after Suri because she's the biggest target, not because she lost the challenge. So if she goes after Suri, who's next? And I think that's the biggest thing: is who is the biggest threat when Suri's gone? It's probably Ozzy, but if you need him for challenges, it probably ends up being Christian or Rick Devins. And I think that was kind of Christian's whole play was, hey, if Jenna's going after Suri and she succeeds, who is next? It's probably me or you, Devins. And I think that was a smart play on Christian. I think Christian made the right move here. I think Joe made the wrong move because Joe valued strength, and I don't think Joe had any ties with Suri. And I think Emily might have made the wrong move because I think she could easily hide behind Christian and Devins. I don't think she made the wrong move necessarily. And then Savannah, it's an interesting question because her name wasn't brought up at all until afterwards when she found she got her advantage and hit it, and Rick immediately called her out on it. So Savannah revealing she's a winner was a big point of contention. A lot of people weren't sure if she should. She did, and I think it actually worked out pretty well. Everyone was kind of like, okay, cool. But also at the same time, I think there's always going to be that distrust of like, I don't know if we can trust you just because, we don't know you. We don't know your game. So I think right now looking at it, I think Christian, Emily, and Rick are really solid. And then it's going to be a matter of, do we go with Savannah and Joe, or do we go with Ozzy and Suri? And I could see a world where they side with Ozzy and Suri just because Savannah is this unknown and Rick is sus of her. I think that's where I'm leaning right now. What do you think of this tribe dynamic? Any particulars?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. There's somebody in this tribe that needs a tribe swap like yesterday, and that's Savannah. These guys don't like Savannah, and I think they think she lied, obviously, and so that's not looking good. That she got that advantage, and now she's lying to them. So if anybody on this tribe needs a tribe swap, it would be her. And if somehow a tribe swap ended with her and Joe going somewhere else, might be the best for her and Joe to get out of this tribe. I'm not seeing a whole lot of possibilities for her in this tribe.
Interesting. All right, let's move on. I think that's all the story there. I mean, obviously the big thing is the Jenna boot, but we talked a lot about it. Let's go to the tribe that obviously lost Kyle, which is going to be the Vatu tribe. The Vatu tribe, which I think is infinitely more interesting in terms of tribe dynamics, just because Kyle was the one running things. And I think that kind of makes things a little iffy. I think Colby and Steph are a duo. I think Kyle and Genevieve were a duo. And then I would say Rizzo is kind of finding his way in with Colby, but not really married to anyone. And then Q is kind of finding his way into Kyle. So I think the 2 on the outs are easy. It's Angelina and Aubrey. But the question now becomes, Aubrey wants Genevieve out. Now that Kyle's out, is there potential for someone like Q, someone like Angelina, someone like Rizzo to shake things up? Because right now, I think Steph, Colby, and Genevieve, that 3 is solid. And then I think, the rest of them are kind of rogue agents. I really don't think there's any loyalties because Kyle's gone. And I think that's what makes it really, really interesting. Colby obviously went on the journey, lost his vote. Q went on the journey, lost his vote. So Genevieve and Stephanie only have each other. And so if they want, Rizzo doesn't have to be aligned to Colby. He can just go with Aubrey and Q, or sorry, not Q, but Aubrey and Angelina, and make a move, because there's only 5 people voting now if they go to tribal. There's 2 votes missing. So I think Rizzo's the big swing here, because I think you have Aubrey and Angelina who are wild cards. Stephanie and Genevieve are going to be tight, or Rizzo's just going to side with Colby, side with Genevieve and Steph, and it's going to be an easy boot for either Aubrey or Angelina. But I do like that there's not really a target right now. I don't think anyone, the only one who was mentioned as a target was Rizzo by Colby. And now Colby likes Rizzo. So I don't even think Aubrey and Genevieve, I mean, they're targeting each other, but they haven't vocalized that to anyone else. So I think it's really in the dark, because I thought Q was going to be the easy target here, and he's not. So I really think this is a cool dynamic where Angelina, who I thought would be an early target, isn't getting any heat. Q, who I thought would be an early target, isn't getting any heat. Genevieve is only getting heat from Aubrey. Aubrey's only getting heat from Genevieve. Rizzo, Colby, and Steph are flying around. Like, what do you think of this tribe?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. You covered all your bases with your synopsis of this tribe. With that group, Stephanie, Genevieve, Q, and Kyle and Colby, and one of them's gone. 2 of them don't have a vote. So you're down to 2. And if the other 2 girls pick up Rizzo, they could vote either one of those 2 girls or any of the other guys off if they wanted, right? If they lose a challenge next time. If this tribe loses a challenge next time out, they are screwed if Rizzo jumps ship and goes with the other girls. So Colby befriending Rizzo, not a bad idea, Colby. Mm-hmm. Keep him in your good graces.
Yeah, and it's public knowledge that Colby doesn't have a vote. So I think that's even more incentive for Rizzo to be like, bro, I don't know how to help you out here. Or Rizzo says, okay, we're going to make it work. Let's figure this out. Because I think Rizzo's just happy to be there. I honestly think he would probably rather work with the old school players like Stephanie and Colby, just because it's like working with the people you grew up watching on TV. But I also think he would want to work with Aubrey. I think he would want to work with Angelina. Like, I think, honestly, Rizzo, if Rizzo has a play, he should probably say, hey, let's go for like Q. Just because he's kind of the unknown entity. Also, something that they don't show you on the show, but is just kind of common knowledge. Ozzy and Q spent the whole first night not with their tribes, and Q in particular didn't have a Suri like Ozzy has Suri. So I think Q, yes, we're seeing him have these conversations because everyone needed him, but he was bonding most with Kyle. Kyle's gone. So and we know Aubrey was targeting him preseason. So I think it's one of those things where Q, I think, might have secretly the biggest target here, and we're just not seeing it because they want it to be this big explosive moment when it happens. But I do think Q is in a little danger only because he didn't have that time to bond, and with this tribe, when Tiffany and Charlie aren't here, you need to be there for those initial conversations. The person who could have gone would probably have been Colby or Steph because they have the other person there. So I'm a little worried for Q. But what I will say, I'm surprised Q did not have as disastrous as a premiere as I thought. Like, he honestly had some good social, interactions. He seemed like everyone liked him. He didn't seem like the chaotic person. I thought we were going to get Tony from Game Changers, where he's just running down the jungle, going nuts, going crazy. We didn't really get that with anyone this episode. A little bit with Jenna, I guess, going after Suri hard, but we didn't really get anyone like just taking off and playing way too hard out the gate. So I really like that Q is playing a cooler, calmer game than we're used to. The only problem is if he's a soon boot, I hope we get what we wanted from Q before he goes.
But the other thing is, maybe they're giving us an edit to where we don't see it. We're seeing bits and pieces of it now, but maybe he befriends Ozzy, and Ozzy and him go a long way together. We don't, right, because of just that spending the time together on that island by themselves.
I think that was the one thing I was missing from the episode is that island time at Exile. I think it was just such a packed episode, especially because you were going to fit in the medevac in this episode too. I think that part was probably the most glossed over because it's Exile Island, it's back, and I would have liked maybe a bigger, longer segment of that. Also, because it felt weird because the whole journey was so centered on Coach and Ozzy that I feel like Q. I looked at my brother, I was like, Q is not getting a confessional yet. Like, why is Q not speaking? And then finally, when Coach left, it became Q and Ozzy, and he got a little bit more to talk about. But I think Q has been getting some good confessionals. It's not the Q I imagined going into this season he would be. But that was kind of similar to his last season, where he played a little softer early on, and then as the season went on, he kind of spiraled. But should we move on to this third tribe, Dan? Let me pull him up. It's the Kahlo tribe? Yeah, so the Kahlo tribe, looking real good here. Obviously, Jonathan, I think they don't go to tribal unless they swap. I'm looking at that now. I think that's the most likely scenario. As long as they don't swap next episode, I think they're all here. I don't see a world where any of these guys go home. And the person I was most worried about preseason was Camilla, and she just lost Kyle. So I think Camilla, actually, as sad as it sounds, as morbid as it sounds, really benefits from Kyle getting hurt. And I think now people are going to be like, okay, she's no threat because I'm not worried about her now. And I think that's the best thing for Camilla, honestly, is having Kyle not in the game. And I think she might honestly be a little relieved, not because Kyle got hurt, but relieved in the fact that she can now play her own game that she wanted to play. I think Dee is in a lot of trouble if they go, only because she's the winner and it's clear she's not good at hiding her threat level management. People are charmed by her immediately. Mike White was very charmed by her initially. I think she's in a little trouble. I think Tiffany, her and Camilla have a cool thing going. They want to go for Chrissy. Chrissy's kind of been the only name thrown out as a target right now, but we did see Coach get a little shaken by the Aussie thing. And if Coach kind of spirals, I could see a world where Coach, everyone's just kind of like, we should go after Coach, and all it takes are the women. But Chrissy seems really tight with Coach. So I think the tight duos here, Coach has Charlie pretty tight, and Coach has Chrissy very tight. So I think the three of them could be a trio. Maybe you rope in Jonathan, and then the three other girls are a trio: Tiffany, Dee, and Camilla. And then I think Mike White is not the easy vote, but he's the swing vote. I think he's either going to side with the women and maybe try to rope in Charlie or Jonathan, or Mike goes with the majority of Chrissy, Coach, Charlie, and Jonathan, and goes after one of the three strategic women. So I think Mike White is actually in a much better position than I ever thought he would be at this point. I think Jonathan is playing a little bit more strategically than I expected. Obviously, Coach is Coach. Charlie had the strangest premiere where I barely got any Charlie. I forgot Charlie was there, which is actually kind of strange considering, again, he's one of the bigger figures of the last few seasons, the new era. But I also think this tribe is the one that didn't have any drama because they kept winning and they didn't lose anyone this episode. The other two tribes did. So maybe they were just kind of keeping them for later, saving them for later, because Coach had a big episode, Mike White had a big episode, but everyone else pretty much had a pretty middle of the road episode in terms of visibility. And I think Charlie and maybe like Tiffany had like a pretty low visibility episode. Even Chrissy, I thought, had a pretty weak episode premiere wise. If I'm looking at winners edits, I don't know if the winner comes from this tribe, and if it does, it's either Coach or Mike White or maybe Camilla, just because she had some good confessionals about wanting to like play a strategic game, not a loyal game. But everyone else, I don't see winner potential necessarily based on their edits right now. But what are your thoughts of this tribe? Because obviously we got the least amount of them, but
Yeah.
they have probably the biggest safety, and they have your favorite player on it.
Yeah, I mean, my two favorite players, Mike White and Coach, are my two. I mean, behind the curtain, pulling back the curtains again. I sent you my top 5 that I wanted to see win the show, and it was Coach and then Mike White. But I also like Dee, and I had Savannah in my honorable mentions. But I like Ozzy as well. But one of my 5 is already gone, and that's Jenna. But no, this tribe. The one thing I noticed about this tribe, they kept on showing. I don't know if you noticed, they would show Charlie and he'd give these looks. Mm-hmm. And it's like Charlie has got something going on and we just don't know what he's got going on right now. And I'm telling you right now, he's got a plan and they're not talking about it yet. I think the edits are, like you said, trying to show the quirky, goofy side of Mike White and then the feud that's brewing between Ozzy and Coach. And that we see it even in the trailer for the next episode, So I think Charlie's got something going on, and they're just not showing their hand yet in the edits or nothing. Because I kept on looking at him, and they would like go into him, and he'd have these looks on his face, like he didn't like something what was going on, or something somebody said from one of the other tribes, or whatever. I got something. I might be just barking up the wrong tree here. I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing. It is a premiere, and I think because it's the 50th premiere, I'll get rid of this here. I think because it is the 50th premiere, I think there's a necessity to kind of play into the legacy of it. And let's just be honest, Charlie doesn't have that legacy. Someone like Chrissy doesn't have the legacy. That like players like Ozzy, players like Suri, players like Jenna, who I will say for a first boot, I think they could have given her a little bit more. That wasn't just, I'm going after Suri. They gave her a lot at the Matt chat. They gave her a lot at Tribal Council. But I wish we'd gotten a smidge more of Jenna having a cool character moment. I love the moment where Christian made the fire. Talking about his kid. I think if I'm looking at a winner's edit right now, I think the players I'm looking at I'm looking at definitely Christian as a potential winner. I do think Camilla's strategy has been pretty clear, or just wanting to play a more strategic game. I think that's good. I think Steph and Colby have potential for winners at it because they were so visible. Maybe Genevieve too, but Aubrey talking about Genevieve has me a little worried. There's going to be a clash there. And then I do see a world where Emily could actually have a little bit of a winner's edit going just based on her having these kind of early thoughts and being like, last time I didn't have anyone who wanted to play with me and now I do. And same with like Rizzo, kind of like I wasn't alive when this game started and now I'm here and he reminds me of my dad. But it could also be one of those case scenarios where those are like just journey edits, if you will. I'm a little more worried for Surie's winner edit. She was my winner pick. But it's hard because if Surie wins this game, her edit's still probably going to be the same regardless. If she gets 2nd place, 5th place, 10th place, if she goes out next episode, I think her premiere was always going to be big. That's why it's hard to judge with like Coach, Surie, Ozzy, Mike White. Like they were always going to have these big premieres just because they are the biggest characters and like they're the older, like more monumental figures. Even Colby and Steph too. They could just be
players. They're the people that people know. They're the players that people know. They played some of them 5 times, some of them 3 times, some of them 4 times. They're the people that people know. If you've been watching as long as I've been watching, if you watch these players grow up on your television screen. They always talk about TV stars and sitcom people. These people grew up in front of your eyes. Well, these people grew up. I grew up, we all grew up together watching Survivor over the last 25 years. So these people that's why when I see Jenna go home, it bothers me because I love Jenna. She comes from New England. She's a New Hampshire girl. And even though she moved to California, and so that bothers me that a New England girl like Jenna got knocked out first, but she caused her own problems, I mean, no doubt about it.
I think in terms of winners edit, just from looking at premieres, I think we have to look at if any of the old school players got a small visibility or if any of the new era players got a big visibility. I think that's a good thing to tell. Because like new era, who got a big visibility was Christian's like kind of middle era, but like Christian, I think Emily got a lot of visibility. Obviously Q did, but that's kind of circumstantial. I think Tiffany, D, and Camilla are in some sort of middle ground. But then if you look at like old school players who did not get a big edit, like Angelina got nothing this episode until the end. She was kind of crying for Kyle, and that's crazy because she's one of the biggest, like flashiest, most biggest characters of that era. She got nothing. I feel like Aubrey got very little. She only got 1 or 2 confessionals, one about Kyle's injury, one about Genevieve. And again, like if you're looking at a winner's edit, I know a lot of people have been hot on Aubrey. But I do worry that, like, if you're not talking about your strategy in your game in the premiere, I'm just not going to buy you necessarily as a winner edit. I think Rick Devens had a good edit this episode. I think the two old school players that worried me, or I guess 3 that worried me the most, were Chrissy, Angelina, and Aubrey. The only old school women that got much were Steph and Surie. But I do think there's potential for a little bit more. I think new era who got nothing. I think Joe got a pretty bad edit for the new era in terms of like visibility. I think Joe and Charlie were probably the most invisible for me when I expected more visibility. But I don't know. I mean, this is just me reading it.
Tribal for Joe was good though. That tribal, he got that baggage out of the way. Now you could see him just going forward, with that group. They got to figure a way to not get one of them eliminated with only 2 of them having a vote. Right now, they gotta rope in Rizzo. I know you hate to say it because I know you're not a Rizzo fan, but that group, if you want to see that group go forward, they gotta rope Rizzo into the group.
I will admit, I think Rizzo's more fun to watch when he's not kind of the best strategist on his season, if that makes sense. He might still be, we don't know, but I think it's more fun to see him play a little humbler, which he is now, like getting emotional with Colby. I actually loved Rizzo's premiere. At first I was like, oh God, he's so annoying, but I was like, you know what? No, it makes sense because he's the young guy. I would probably be the same. I do think there was something beautiful about him connecting with Colby, and I actually do think Rizzo could be a big player this season. I do think I was worried he'd be an easy early out, but immediately he's already kind of warmed some hearts. And I think that's the thing we don't get from him from last season is that he was so strategic that we didn't really get the character Rizzo. We got a character, but not like the human Rizzo. We didn't get to know his heart. And I think here we're actually getting to see a more human version of him. And that's kind of the same I'm thinking with Q and with Emily and even with Jonathan. Like, it's really cool to see some of these bigger, more like stereotyped characters. Like Jonathan's the big guy, Q is the chaotic guy. It's cool to see them get like some layered character stuff.
But now you're seeing the
peppered in
reason
there.
why they picked these guys. Not to
Yeah.
interrupt you. The,
Oh no, go ahead.
you're starting to see. Look, we all know, we watch enough of this show to know that they pick people as a specific piece, a pawn piece on the chessboard of Survivor. Okay, this is you. You're a pawn. You're a rook. You're a queen. You're a knight. You're a this. You're that. And if you look at the players overall, I'm starting to see the pawns and then the bigger players. I am starting to see where the season's starting to develop and stuff. But the only thing that we got, and they brought it up a lot, this is in the hands of the fans. And the fans are throwing the season a crazy, what do you call crazy hooks and punches and uppercuts and all. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy. Look, what's her name getting that advantage? Savannah getting that advantage. And it was like, we're going balls to the wall advantage or whatever it was. It's like a crazy advantage. Like they're going to have tons of advantages. Yeah. What was it called that the fans voted for?
the dynamic advantages.
Dynamic advantages.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the decisions that the fans made. So yeah, dynamic advantages we kind of figured would be the case because viewers are going to be like more advantages, more advantages, more advantages. I would have liked the middle one where it's like not too many, not enough. I don't think no advantages is a good thing, but too many advantages could be a little too chaotic. I think this episode was a lot of earned votes, lost votes. But what I liked about the votes this episode is that if you were losing a vote, it was because someone else was gaining a vote. You know what I mean? Like Colby lost his vote, and then Savannah got something because of it because she won a challenge. Colby lost a challenge. Even the pot thing, it was Q would be getting a pot, losing his vote, and Ozzy would get 2 votes. Now, here's the thing. Q benefits because he gets a pot. Ozzy benefits because he gets an extra vote. Q loses his vote, but he's still getting something where it's not just like you were randomly selected for this journey, so you're just losing your vote automatically, which are so many of the new era's problems, that it's nice that Q at least had a say. And if he really didn't want to lose his vote, he could have fought for it and be like, I'm taking the vote, you're taking the pot. I love that the players have agency in whether they're losing their votes or not based on challenges or decisions they're making. The only one who got nothing at all was Mike White, who just kind of left and was like, all right, fine. But he came back with the vital information that set Coach off. So I think everyone got something from a journey. Savannah getting something, Coach losing, or Colby losing something, Coach getting something, Q getting a pot, Ozzy getting an extra vote. Like everyone's getting something from these. And then the boomerang idol, which we didn't even talk about. Genevieve finds it, which is really cool. Genevieve finding her first idol, I believe, or one of her first idols. She might have had one last time. But she gifts it to Ozzy, who now collects all the things. Ozzy has an extra vote. Ozzy has the idol. Ozzy has Sari. Ozzy has the best challenge thread. Ozzy has the most confessionals in the episode with 19, which is more than he had in the entirety of Game Changers as a season.
Wow.
He's going off. Yeah, he's going
off. That's why you start saying to yourself, this thing with him and Coach, is this the long game of the edit? And they're starting now, and they're going to add, this thing's going to go all season long. Is this? Because obviously in the trailer for the next episode, they're going at each other in there. So, I mean, obviously Ozzy's looking good for a while. I'll tell you right now with the advantages, and he's on a tribe that values him until Rick Devens decides to cut his throat.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, as good as Ozzy may be, it's challenges and getting advantages and clues and stuff. He is not the best at the strategic game, and that's just point blank. He's just never been. And the one time he thought he was, he got duped by Parvati, Suri, and
Black Widow Brigade.
The Black Widow Brigade, except for Amanda, who was his love at the time. But I do think it's very interesting to see Ozzy's game, Ozzy being the main character of this episode, just because he had such a quiet last season with Game Changers. But it's cool because I want to see Ozzy play a more strategic cutthroat game. I don't want to just see him be the guy who wins challenges and then goes out at the merge every time. Like, I want to see a run where Ozzy does go out at 4th or 5th place just because he's the biggest threat strategically, or because he has a social bonds. Like, he's making alliances, not just relying on challenges. Because South Pacific, it was all challenges. Cook Islands, it was kind of all challenges. He had a bond, but it was all challenges. Micronesia was the only time it wasn't challenges, and then he got duped. But I do wonder, what does this Ozzy version look like? Which I love. I love that this is kind of the flavor of Ozzy we're getting this season. But the other thing they voted on, they gave them no rice, no materials. Obviously, we know that would probably happen because that's the more fun TV. I think any question of what it's going to be, it's just like whatever the best TV is what we're probably going to get. So I'm not necessarily surprised. But yeah,
Yeah,
were there any other votes that we got? I mean, obviously the tribe colors we got. But yeah, I don't remember if there were any other.
I can't
Um,
remember off the top of my head. But yeah, no, I want craziness. I want crazy, wild, wacky stuff going on. So it's just not like whether you like the show, you love the show, you don't like. I've been kind of bored with some of the last few seasons. So I want wackiness and I want craziness and all kinds of advantages and people getting backstabbed and people getting. I know the stuff. I want that's what we want from season 50. We
yeah,
didn't come to just get this boring season 50.
right.
And I'll tell you right now, you say whatever you want. I'll tell you what, that edit in episode 1, that's looking pretty good for Ozzy as a champions edit, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Ozzy goes on to win the season, this is a great premiere for him because also I think in the coach thing, Ozzy looks better than Coach does. I think in the
Oh yeah.
moment, Ozzy kind of looked a little bit bad just because he was like, "What the hell, Coach?" And everyone was like, "Well, Coach was like, yeah, of course I'm going to take it. You're not playing Ozzy. Get with the times." And then Ozzy looks bad. But then I think when you get to Tribal and you see or the tribe where Mike White's talking about and Coach is just spiraling, I think it just goes to show that Coach is the same old Coach for a great reason for the fans, like entertainment wise. But I think for game wise, it shows that Ozzy is adapting better than Coach is because Coach is just getting back into the same coach space that he normally is. Now we'll see if that goes on. I do think this is a long-term thing just because I don't think Coach's tribe is losing. And if they swap, it could be a thing that meets in the middle. I hope not though. I hope this is an ongoing thing all season. My only hope is that it's not one note all season. It's not the same thing every single time. I hope there is some nuance. I hope they maybe do decide to come together on a vote and then they split apart. Or I hope the merge is the two of them coming at each other and one of them will win, one of them will lose. And that's kind of it of the story. I hope it's not the whole story of the season. I hope we get other layers of things. And I think now that Cerie's still here, I think there's a really cool avenue to explore Cerie and Ozzy's relationship. Obviously, Coach and Charlie have a bond. Coach is bonding with Chrissy. So I want to focus on a few other things than just Ozzy and Coach. And that would make my day. The problem is I'm worried Ozzy's only going to be there for Coach's story and vice versa. Because obviously, I mean, it's the two legends going at it. I mean, they are probably the two most legendary players next to Cerie out there, or Colby maybe. And
Yeah.
even then, I would say more casuals probably remember Ozzy and Coach more than everyone but Colby and Cerie, I would say.
Yeah. Those are when me and my brother we went and we started a podcast. We did. And my brother had all kinds of problems with StreamYard. We went back. We went from the very first player number 1, Jenna. We watched all her seasons. Then we watched all Ozzy's seasons, Cerie's seasons, Coach's seasons, Stephanie's seasons. We watched all these people. We didn't even get to these newer players because of the StreamYard and all this stuff. So I have all these guys, those guys fresh in my mind. So and I think a lot of people have those guys fresh in their minds.
Yeah.
And when I think of Survivor, I think of them old school players. And I know you're half my age, so you're thinking of more of the younger school players, and you're thinking of those guys, and you have those guys. You have I listen to your things, and I'm thinking, man, how does he remember all this stuff? I mean, I could barely remember what I ate for lunch today. And you remember.
Granted, I watch these episodes like on a loop on my TV when I'm going to bed, when I'm cooking, cleaning. Like it's my background noise, which is great because it just helps ingrain into my head. But like looking at the old school, new school, I mean, like I don't think the old schools are doomed. I think Cerie and Ozzy are still in a pretty good position. I think Rick Devens and Christian are in a really good position. I think Coach is in a good position. The only ones who I'm a little iffy on are Aubrey and then Stephanie and Colby now, depending on Kyle's medevac, could be in trouble, could be okay. Colby missing a vote is a little scary, but he had a good edit this episode, especially with Rizzo. And then Chrissy is a wild card where I know the 3 women on that tribe are targeting her, but she has a good thing going with Coach. So I really do think all the old schoolers are in a pretty good position. If I'm looking at the next biggest targets on the board, I think a lot of the biggest targets now are all new era. It's all D and Savannah and maybe Genevieve. So I do think there's road for a bit of a back and forth because Winners of War was dismal. How it was just old school. It was Parvati, Boston Rob, Ethan, Danny, Amber, Sandra. They were all pre-merge, and then the merge was just all these newer players. And Tyson. Like it was really tough to watch, especially on rewatch. I'm like, dang, like these are all the legends, and I'm watching them go out back to back to back to back. I don't think it's going to be the case. Also, because look at the boot order. Jen is a legend, but like not on the level of a Suri or a Ozzy in terms of popularity, just because she played so long ago. And I think it was just cool to get the Borneo representation. But like Kyle is such a new player that like now it's balanced again. It's from some from the first season and the 48th are gone. So like
I
you
know.
still have a lot of players from a lot of different seasons, and I think they're all in different positions. And there's going to be a tribe swap probably at 21 or 20 anyway. So like we can't get married to them either. So
No, no, I agree. I think you can't really know where this thing is going till you see 2 or 3 or 4 episodes. Right now, they wanted to give you a little bit of taste of this. It's like you're at a smorgasbord, one of those buffets. You get a little bit of this on your plate, a little bit of that on your plate, a little bit, and you eat too much, you get sick. So you don't want to eat too much of Survivor from this episode and get yourself sick, because you got a lot more eating as the weeks and days and breakfasts and lunches and down the road. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not.
No, you're good. You're good. It's almost midnight, and I got to go over some fantasy stats soon. But Dan, do you have anything else to say on this premiere? Thank you for being here. I appreciate having someone to talk to, just because I feel like if I talk to the camera, I would lose my train of thought. And it's good to always have someone to bounce off on. And everyone's busy with their premiere parties and stuff. I want to let them have fun. Like I almost had Austin and Ingrid on here, but they're literally at the Baltimore party with Ozzy right now. Ozzy hosted.
Wow, really? Ozzy? They're at the Baltimore Survivor party with Ozzy?
Yeah,
oh, my.
Yeah, that's really cool. There are a bunch in Florida. You should check them out, because I think Dee's always hosting some in Florida. I don't know where, because I know she's
from Miami.
So.
I live 5 hours.
Yeah, but you never know when she'll do it a little bit more north. I don't know. It's worth looking out for. I don't know.
I want to tell you real quick. I know you got to get going. In Survivor Africa, there's 2 players from Sanford, Florida. Both got knocked out early in the season in Africa. And one was a dentist and one was a state trooper from Sanford, Florida. And that's only a half hour from me. And I have never heard anything from either of these 2 people.
The dentist is Carl, right? His name's Carl?
Carl, yep.
And then who's the state trooper? Do you remember?
She's a woman. Indian woman. I forgot
was
her
it
name.
Jesse or?
I'm telling you, man. Your memory is like a steel trap. I don't know how you remember this stuff, dude. I just try to remember movies and TV shows. I don't. There's so many seasons of Survivor. I can't remember all the details that you remember. I watch your things and I'm like, how does he remember all this stuff?
Yeah,
I'm blown away, man. I'm blown away by how much you guys, like all you guys on your things, like these guys. How do they know all this information?
Yeah, Survivor kind of lives rent free in my brain, which kind of sucks. But
yeah,
I gotta figure out.
I enjoyed this episode, but I just it was a bit of a bummer because I did like Jenna, so that was kind of sad.
And Kyle as well. We haven't really talked about the meta. It's just unfortunate. It's one of those things where he was wearing a brace in a lot of his Instagram photos. I didn't even think about it, like that it could be because of Survivor, and I think it's just sad that that he goes out so early and it's like, oh, that could have been someone else's spot. But it's also like, you never know. Like, why is it, it shouldn't be his fault. I mean, he got hurt. I mean, there's something you could do
How
about
the big guy from last season? How many people were picking the big guy to have a great season in 49?
Jake, yeah. And
then bam, he gets bit by a snake and he's out like that. Like, who saw that coming? Because I was like, this guy seemed a lot of fun. That big guy did.
And I think it's also because like a lot of people were like, should they have winners on? Maybe not. And it kind of sucked that it was like one of the 3 winners who was doing the best of the 3 winners. Because if you look at it, Savannah's now a target because of her advantage that Rick Devens called out. Dee has been a target since she hit the beach. Everyone wants Dee out. And then Kyle, who was running the alliance. Q wanted to work with him. Genevieve, Colby, Steph. Kyle's the one that everyone wanted to work with. So it's really a shame that I think if anyone could have made that run, I think it was Kyle first and foremost, then Dee, then Savannah. But we'll have to see. Maybe they'll. My ideal way this goes is that like Survivor 54 is like a new era, second chances or all stars, where we get all the other new era players that maybe weren't right for 50, but give them another shot to play. And then in season like 56, 57, 58, we do like a fans versus favorites type deal where we like bring back any like 10 players that are just like, we need these 10 back again one last time. And maybe you don't pull anyone from 50. Maybe you get Kyle and like that's it. Or maybe give Jenna another shot too. But then you also have the last chance to bring back anyone else from the old school, and then maybe a few more new era. And then that's kind of where that ends for those players. Because I think Kyle ending his journey with this is kind of sad. And I would love to see him at least get one more shot, even though he has one. Like, I want to see if he can actually replicate it, because he was doing a great job, you know?
It was the Jonathan Penner. This is the Jonathan Penner edit. I hate to say it. I love Jonathan Penner. Some people don't like him.
Top 10 favorite player of mine, yep.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players. This is a Jonathan Penner edit, dude. Yeah. I mean, I like, bam, there goes Jonathan Penner. There goes Kyle. You know what I mean? Kind of in a way, you know?
And they brought back Penner for a season where they had 3 medevacs. What if you bring back, you bring back Jake, who got bit by the snake. You bring back Kyle, who's a winner. He has a big target, but he's getting another shot. And then maybe you bring back, like, the guy who hurt his back, Pat, on David vs. Goliath. He got hurt. I'm trying to think of other. Eric, who who gave away the necklace, came back and they got medevaced again. Maybe you bring back I don't know. There's so many people. Bruce could come back again. He's already come back, but he was medevaced.
I know you want to go, but there's 2 things. I got since I got you on here. We're on here. Let's what is going on with this rumor that Jeff's gone after this season? Because is that a rumor that you take stock in, or is it just Facebook trying to just say a bunch of baloney like they always?
I haven't heard that. I think because it's 50 and it's so ceremonious, I feel like people are just assuming it could happen. Like, if he's going to step down, it is this. And he's bringing in, it's because of that Beast Games crossover where he's doing a lot on Beast Games and Mr. Beast will be on this show. People are thinking that he could be like training Mr. Beast to take over. I don't see that happening. He still clearly loves the show, and I do think as long as he can do it, he will do it. I don't see a world where Jeff steps down unless he's stepping down strictly to produce the show and let someone else like to host it. But I mean,
because we know we got 2 more seasons now.
And here's the thing: it's 26 days twice a year. I mean, he could just be like, "Hey, I don't want to be as involved with casting," but that's 50 days of the year. Like, you have 310 other days. Obviously, there's prep days and editing days, and you have to host things and social media PR. But I'm like, I think it's not a hard gig to uphold, I think. And he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess he's going to be doing these morning shows where he's got the morning show on CBS tomorrow with the first boot, which now we know is Jenna. So I wonder if he's going to do this every Thursday. Maybe. He's going to be on there with the person they're going to talk about to really hype this show up as it gets further and further along. It's going to the ratings are just going to keep going up and up and up and up because the tension's going to rise and up. It's like that first season. Remember how big? Oh, well, you're kind of young, but it was like 3. Yeah. Everybody, as the episodes are going, the ratings were going higher and higher and higher because nobody knew what was going on. They thought Jervis is the winner, and this more wacky and crazy things happen episode to episode. And I wonder if that's what we're gonna get with this dynamic thing. Is like, you thought this is good. Week by week, it's gonna ramp up. All right. One more thing before we go. I know this is your thing, and I don't mean I don't.
You're good.
Feel like when do we get Survivor losers? First vote, second vote out. When this is ratings. This is ratings. You got crazy bad people getting knocked off first and second. Oh my God, how crazy.
I think either it will be like a first boots versus like merge, but like I don't think it'll be all first boots just because I don't think there are enough to fill a whole season. There are enough to bring a full season, but I don't think there's enough that people want to see or that CBS necessarily wants back, and a lot of them are older. I could see them being like bringing back like kind of how Edge of Extinction they brought back 4 contestants. I could see them being like, here are 4 people who are the first boot. Jelinski, Jenna from 50, like have a few players back. Amber from Winners of War, have all the first boots back and have 4 of them back as like coaches and just see what they do with the new game. Because Bruce was the first boot because he was a medevac, came back and was one of the best characters on that season, even though he was terrible at the game. So I do think there's a world where that is a potential where it's like a half first boots, half new players, or it's first boots and runners up, and like first boots is a tribe.
How about winners versus losers? First boots is the losers, and you got 10 winners, and you got who can win versus the 10 winners
Yeah.
versus the 10 losers.
And then you have Tina Wesson just bouncing back between tribes. That'd be fun. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
She was voted out first in one of the
All-Stars, yeah.
All-Star seasons.
By Jenna.
And she
By
won.
Jenna.
And
Yeah.
Jenna, bring Jenna back now. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know why. I just want Hunter to come back. I guess it's a guy that I feel like really
Hunter Ellis from season 4, like
yeah,
Cases Hunter. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for him because I felt like Rob really jobbed him out bad, you know. And he's an Air Force pilot and all this stuff. Man, this guy deserves a better second chance at this, you know. But maybe he's so bitter by what happened that maybe he doesn't want to come back again. I don't know, but
I don't know. Well, it was a great premiere, and I appreciate you, Dan, for talking with me. You can still hang out in the live chat while I recap fantasy stuff, but that's all the tedious book work. But thank you, Dan, for being here, and hopefully you'll pop on at some point later on the season. I'm hoping to have guests on every time we can when Zach can't be here because he's hosting a party himself. So I'm glad you were on here to talk. But,
hey, no problem, man. You know how much I love it. You know, me and you're, you know, take them curtains back. Me and you've been talking about Survivor for years now.
Yeah,
I haven't been on a lot of your Survivor stuff, so it's just I'm glad to pop on here and talk with you. The first reactions and get stuff out there.
Thank you, Dan. And we'll see you later. And if everyone wants, on TikTok, Zach will be here to give his power rankings. I don't know if we're going to fit in an episode before the next episode on Wednesday, but Zach and I will be back to do power rankings on TikTok this week, so stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll do mine from Disneyland because I'm going there tomorrow. But let's look at confessionals real quick, because I finally got the confessional chart. I know, Matt, you were asking if Matt chats count, stuff like that. This is the official confessional count. The highest confessional episode, Ozzy, 19 confessionals is crazy. The next highest was 9 for Savannah. She went on the journey, so it makes sense. 8 for Coach. That makes a lot of sense. 9 for Q. 7 for Genevieve, which is actually pretty good, but she also had the Boomerang Idol. I'm going to look at who got a lot of confessionals despite not getting any advantages. Angelina had 3. She was kind of invisible this episode. I'm saying invisible. Everyone was visible. It was just in context with others. I think Angelina's visibility was a little low. Aubrey had 3. I barely noticed Aubrey in this episode except for at the end with Kyle's medevac and, of course, with the moments with Genevieve. Rizzo gets 2, which is shocking because I feel like Rizzo was a more focal point of the episode. It just goes to show confessionals are not the only thing that can give you screen time, I guess. Stephanie had 6. That makes sense. That's actually a lot for someone who was just kind of a second player to Colby and Genevieve in this episode. Charlie had 2. Terrible episode for him. Chrissy had 2. Not a great episode, but she did have some meaningful ones. Dee and Tiffany only had 1 apiece. Tiffany's edit probably is also one of the weaker ones, but she did form an alliance with Camilla and Dee. But Camilla gets 2, Dee gets 1, Tiffany gets 1. I could see them kind of planting the seeds for something bigger to come, but not great when the most dominant winner of the new era gets only 1 confessional in your premiere. I don't think that's the greatest sign for Dee. Jonathan gets 3. That's okay. Mike White gets 7. That's good. He also went on a journey. Christian got 7. I think that's a great amount of confessionals for a premiere for Christian, who is not going on journeys, not in contention for boots, especially because it's not because they went to tribal, because Emily and Joe only got 2 and 4 apiece, and Sari only got 3. Sari only gets 3. Obviously, she gets a Matt chat, so she gets a lot of talking, but Sari only gets 3 confessionals this episode, and she's kind of the other boot next to Jenna. Maybe they're just going to heat it up. Maybe Sari was just quiet those first few days. I don't know. Maybe it's just advantages and she didn't get any. Emily had 2, which is not great, but she, I feel like, at least spoke her mind a lot and had a substantial confessional. Joe had 4, which surprises me. I thought Joe had a little bit less. Rick had 5. Rick had a pretty good episode, and Savannah had 9. That's a lot. And Kyle and Jenna go home with 4 confessionals apiece. Let's just look really quick at fantasy. I'm not going to put in any fantasy points right now, but I just want to kind of look, just looking at what the criteria are, who got things. We can finally officially, sadly, blur out Jenna. So how do I do this? I'm going to go to edit. Sorry, you're seeing me edit on the spot. Putting the saturation down, baby. Boom. Jenna's picture is now grayed, unfortunately. And you know what? We're going to have to do the same with Kyle. I will put in point values overnight, post them tomorrow on Facebook, Facebook Dill Pickle Movie Network, if you want to see the fantasy, how it shakes out. I'm sure Austin, Ingrid, Matt, Zach, and Carly will be on the edge of their seats. But looking winner, we don't know. Obviously, days survived. Anyone who made it to day 4 is going to get 4 points. I believe that was almost everyone. So Jenna went out day 3. So Jenna will get 3 points. Kyle went out day 4. If you make it to that day, you get that amount of points. So Kyle was surviving on the island for 4 days, Jenna for 3 days. So Jenna will get 3, Kyle will get 4. I guess I could put these in now. Why not? But everyone's going to get 4. So you know what? We're going to just edit this on the air now. And then after this, we'll all go to bed, I promise. So Ozzy got 4, Sari got 4, Rizzo got 4, Mike got 4, Aubrey gets 4, Rick gets 4, Camilla gets 4, Kyle gets 4, Coach gets 4, Angelina gets 4, D 4, Colby 4, Tiffany 4, Christian 4. Jenna's getting 3. 3 days survived. Savannah gets 4. Genevieve 4. Oh, that's almost a 40. Whoops. Emily 4. For some reason, it keeps going 40. Q 4. And then Charlie 4. Joe 4. This is the stuff you don't get to see. This is the boring stuff that you don't get to see off the air. So there we go. Those are days. Finds idol. Okay, this is where we edited it. We added a tier because the boomerang idol, we had no idea how it was going to work. So if you find the idol, if you go searching and you find an idol, you get the 5 points. So Genevieve is getting 5 points here, taking her total to 9. She's getting the 5 points for finding an idol. But if you gift it to someone, Ozzy found an idol in his bag. He doesn't know it's a boomerang idol. He doesn't know that if he goes home, it bounces back to Genevieve. So Genevieve found the idol fair and square. But Ozzy, we're going to give 4 points for the boomerang idol. So if you find the boomerang idol or if you get it gifted to you, that you're getting an idol. And if you get an idol, you should get points. But you didn't find it, so we're subtracting a point, and you will get 4 points for boomerang idols. That's kind of what our chat settled on as a good compromise. Finds advantage, not an idol. Okay, this is going to be a big one. We're going to have to look at who got an advantage. So Savannah has a vote blocker, so she's getting 3 points. So where's Savannah right here? She's going to go up to 7. Who else got it? Ozzy got the extra vote. So 8, 9, 10, 11. Ozzy will get 3 points there. Only 2 advantages in this premiere. Not terrible. Coach obviously won that challenge and got the supplies, but that's all Coach got. He didn't get any advantage, and supplies were not counting as an advantage. If anyone watching this in our fantasy league has any discrepancies, let me know, and we can edit it there. Individual immunities not counting. Tribal immunity wins for 2 points. So anyone who won the first challenge is getting 2 points. So Rizzo is getting 2 points. Mike White is getting 2 points. Aubrey gonna get 2 points. Rick went to tribal. He's not getting those 2 points. Camilla got 2 points. Kyle did win that immunity challenge, so he is getting 2 points. Coach is gonna get 2 points. Angelina is gonna get 2. D is gonna get 2. Colby's getting 2. Whoops. There you go. Whoops. There we go. Tiffany's getting 2 points. Christian went to tribal. Jenna went to tribal. Savannah went to tribal. Chrissy getting 2 points. Stephanie is going to get 2 points for that. Jonathan's going to get 2. Joe went to tribal, so Joe will not. Q got 2 points as well. Shockingly, not on a disaster tribe this year. Charlie gets 2. Genevieve is going to get 2, taking hers to 11. And then Emily did not win the challenge, so she's sticking at 4. I think that's right. Everyone who has 4 should be Sari, Rick, who else? It's Christian, Jenna, Savannah didn't get them. Joe, Emily. Who am I missing? Who's the 8th person on that tribe? Oh, Ozzy. Did I give Ozzy those points? No, Ozzy didn't get those points. He went to tribal. So I think that's good. Okay, cool. Moving on. Fire making winner. We don't have that until Final Four, maybe if even. Same as taking the tribal. Episode title. Mike White got the episode title. Epic Party. So Mike White is getting 7 points. Rizzo 6, Mike 7. That's perfect. 6, 7. 10 or more confessionals. Ozzy is going to get 2 points for that. 2 more points for Ozzy. Ozzy, the big fantasy leader right now. 13 points there. Getting 2 points. No confessionals. No one got no confessionals, which is good. Lost vote at tribal. So this is big. Obviously, if it's a beware advantage where you lose your vote and you get it back, we will not award that. But if you lost your vote, you lost your vote. And there are a few lost votes here. So Q lost a vote. So Q is going down to 5. Sorry, Q. And then also Colby lost a vote. Sadly for me, 5. And what else do we have here? Vote against. Okay, so let's see how many votes against. Sari had a vote against her. and that is going to take her down to 4-3. Sari, pretty disastrous for fantasy points, I will say. And then Jenna got, I think, all the rest. Let me just do a triple check on that. Voting history, she's voted out 7-1. So Jenna's going to get a -7. So that's going to be a -4 for Ingrid, which is maybe record low fantasy points for a player. -4 for Jenna. That's so sad. So sad. This is going to break my heart too. Medevac is going to be Kyle minus how many points? 2 points for a medevac. Sadly, I can't believe we're getting a medevac this season. It's so sad. We kind of got a hint that we were going to get in the preview an injury. I didn't know it was going to be a medevac just because Stephanie got injured her premiere for Heroes vs. Villains. Hugs Jeff Probst. I don't think anyone hugged Jeff Probst. Let me know in the comments if someone did. They will get 5 points. No one had an auction. No one got drank alcohol, and no references, sadly, to Survivor Gabon. I don't even think Survivor Gabon was part of the intro. Like, Survivor Gabon to get reference is going to have to be a miracle. So let's add up these points, and then we can call it a night, and we can go to bed. I will just show you the boot list game that Zach and I have. While I get this addition up, is Zach is leading 35 to my 31. Zach and I both had Jenna in the 15 spot. We thought she was going to make the merge, or at least be one of the first few boots before the merge. And then Kyle, I had him right before the merge too. I thought he was going to be around for some challenges. Didn't think he was getting medevac. Zach had him as one of the first 5 boots just because he's a winner. Had him with 20 points. So Zach is getting 20 plus 15, which is 35. And I am getting 16 plus 15, which is 31. But let's add up these points real quick. So 13 plus 13. 3 plus 13 plus 6 plus 7 is going to be 29. So Matt is going to start off with 29 whopping points, which is huge. That is huge. We know Rick Devins is going to have something to do with the Boomerang Idol or get his own. So I am looking forward to that. The bottom, Zach is getting 20 points. Not bad for Kyle, considering he lasted 4 days. Medevac, but also won a challenge, so it evens out to 4 points total. That's not too bad. I'm going to have 23 points. Thank you to those extra immunity wins. From Angelina D and Coach. Shocking that Coach had as good an episode as he did, and I didn't get many points from it at all. Ingrid is sadly going to have 6. That's 17 minus 4. That is going to be 13, which is so sad. So sad, not just for Ingrid, but for Jenna. Going with -4 is a rough fantasy go. It just happens with a unanimous vote. That's just very, very tough. 22 points goes to Austin, which I'm assuming he'll get more later because Jonathan's going to keep winning challenges. And then finding an idol was pretty huge for Carly because she is now going to be in second place with 26 points. So the way things stand because of Ozzy's incredible episode, Matt is in the lead with 29 points right now. Carly close behind in second because Genevieve found that idol with 11. But then we also have me in third with 23, just because none of my players lost a challenge, even though Colby lost a vote. Austin, having one player lost a challenge, gets right behind me in 20 with 22 points. Zach has 20 points because he had a player who lost a challenge and then a player who got medevaced. And of course, Ingrid having lost the first boot. This always happens. Whoever gets the first boot is always going to be low at the beginning, but has the potential to make it back up. And I feel really good about Christian. Really, really good about Christian. He right now, if I had to pick a winner pick based on this episode, I think Christian, it could be a growth edit, but I really do think they set such groundwork for him, not just with his character and his persona and his journey, but also just strategically. I think there were really good inroads with Christian. The only other one who I think rivals him right now for winner edit, I mean, Rizzo maybe, Emily. I don't know. I think right now Christian is looking like the Edgic favorite. If I had to guess, I haven't been on Edgic, so I don't know who the Edgic favorite is right now after this first episode. But there you go. There's the fantasy update. Matt leading with 29. So thank you all for tuning into this one. That's all I have to say for this one. I'm sure more thoughts will come to my brain when I go on TikTok and do my rankings. I have to pack for Disney tomorrow. I leave early in the morning, and I have to finish watching a documentary that I started right before Survivor that I want to finish. I've heard good things. So I thank you all for tuning in, whoever tuned in live. I know, Dan, you came on the stream, but I know, Allie, you were in the chat. Hey, love you. I'll see you all soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we did it. Survivor 50 premiere is done. Thanks for watching.